Magandang araw, ako si Kui Code. Welcome back to my channel where I teach Python through HackerRank coding challenges. But in this video, we'll be going over polymorphism, which is the third pillar of object-oriented programming. So polymorphism allows different classes to use the same method, but implement them differently. So the method in the base class is overridden in the subclass to perform different actions. So in the inheritance example from the last video, we had different method names for each type of attack. But this gets confusing because we might not know ahead of time which class type we're dealing with, or like which subclass we're dealing with. So for example, if we had a list of different types of enemies where enemy is the parent class, um, if each subclass had a different method name, we would need to do an extra check to see which specific subtype of enemy we're dealing with in order to call the right name. But in polymorphism, we can just have override all the methods in the parent class, and then that way they all share the same method name. So let's just see the example here. We're still going to continue to use the character class that we had before. So class character def init self name self.name equals name, and then we'll have def attack self dot or self, and we'll just get a print statement here, which is a basic one. All right, and now we'll just do the other three. Class warrior implements character, and then def attack self, and then instead of a basic attack, swings a mighty sword, and then class mage character def attack self. This one will be cast a powerful spell. The third was just archer. Class archer character def attack self, and then this fires an arrow. All right, so we can still do our, well, let's just define our objects here. We can still call these basic methods, but the good thing is that, it's just the same method name and it works with all three. And as you can see here, it doesn't print out the normal basic attack message. It actually prints out each individual one. So that definitely does make it easier, because then, like I said, if you have a list of, you've made a bunch of these objects, you have a list of character objects, and then you can just still call the same attack method regardless of which one you're doing. So that's the benefit about polymorphism. But here's another example. Let me go ahead and make another method here. Actually, we'll just make it like player, just so you don't get confused. And then player.attack. This is the same thing as that, where the player, or each specific object, even though it's a different subclass, you can pass all of them into this method and it'll still call the attack because it doesn't care, what this is. It'll still, they all share the attack method, so it'll still work. So if I go ahead and delete that, and we'll do this, and it still works. But here's the thing. There's something in Python called duck typing, which is if it quacks like a duck and it walks like a duck, treat it like a duck. This means that if we pass an object that has an attack method, even if it's not a subclass of character, it'll still work. So with duck typing, you don't necessarily need explicit polymorphism like in Java, for example. So that just means that, as I said, it doesn't really care what type of object this is, it'll still work. Well, let's just say an example, we had a robot. It is not character, shoots a laser, and then we'll just make our robot object here. Robot equals robot Bob, and then battle scene robot. We'll go ahead and do that. This doesn't take any arguments, so I guess we won't have a name. Or we can just do, actually, because it's not taking it from character. Oops, wrong one. Because it's not taking it from character, we still need to actually define our own init method here. Self name, and then self.name equals name, colon. So now it still works like normal. But let's say this battle scene, you only want character types and not every type that has an attack. So again, the fact that the robot still works is because of duck typing. It's kind of just a guesses, like, oh, hey, this one you pass in has an attack method, so we'll still get it to work. So something we can do instead, this is just for suggestion, but we can put character. This is the type. It's kind of like a hint. It's not enforced. It'll still work even though the robot is not a character type. But something else that we can use is if is instance of character, then we'll call attack. So the robot is not a character type, so it won't work. And the other ones are a character type, so still work. It will work. So go ahead and do that. And now as you see, the robot one doesn't work. So as an example, in Java, you have to type the type in here. If you leave this blank, it won't know, and it's not able to guess. So for example, if we were to do this, like Java, then it'll work with warrior, but it won't work with, the other two. And you can't do this. You just do warrior and mage and archer. That doesn't work. So that's why in Java you need to have the type as the parent class. So this is kind of like simulating, needing to have a certain type. So in Java, you would need to have the parent class in here in order for it to work with all three. And like, for example, the warrior would morph into a character, the mage would morph into a character, and the archer would morph into a character. So that way, all three of these would work. But because with Python and duck typing, it's not necessarily, you don't necessarily need polymorphism in the same way because it does it automatically, but you would still use it if there is another type that has the attack method that you don't want to include in here. So that's it for this video. Actually, one more quick thing here. If you've seen my last video about inheritance, you might notice that inheritance and polymorphism seem pretty similar because they both let you reuse code and work with multiple classes, but what's the difference? So with an RPG game, inheritance gives every character starting abilities here. That's what inheritance does. But polymorphism is what lets each character use those abilities in their own way, using, having class overriding, and this being that you can just pass in the generic type and it'll still work with all three. So if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe for more coding challenges. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or suggestions for future videos. See you next time on Code. Paalam.